Have you ever realized that you just accept something your entire life and you never realize why? Yeah, I think we do that more than we realize. Life gets a lot more interesting when we pay attention, not just to ourselves, but to the people around us, the conversations, the moments, the lessons hidden inside ordinary life. This is Learn for 2.0. Hey there, welcome to Learn for 2.0. I am Brendan DeVere, and thank you for sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate that. Have you ever, just accepted something just because you've been told that that's what it is, and it's just always been done that way? I caught myself over the last few days kind of realizing that sometimes I see something and I've just seen it a number of times, and maybe I don't even know like what it is. And I've just or like somebody will tell me a story, and they'll name something like I know what it is, and I just don't even react. I'm just like and I have no idea, or I don't go look it up. So I was thinking about that because I don't know if it's me getting embarrassed that I don't know what they're saying, or maybe I'm not thinking that it's important to the story. That's not even the story that someone's telling me, but the story of whatever I'm looking into, and I just see like a name of something. I heard a radio show today talk about a sports show that I listened to out of Seattle called the Brock and Salk Show, and Salk was talking about how he was watching the World Cup yesterday with his daughters, and they're like, "What's FIFA mean?" And I was like, "What does FIFA mean?" Like, I just know that I know FIFA, but I've never really. I'm not much of a soccer fan. I did root for the U.S. yesterday and watch that game. Didn't turn out very well, but the point was that I didn't know what it was either, and it's just FIFA's been thrown around. I've used FIFA. I mean, I know it's a video game. I know all this stuff, but I just didn't really know what it was. And I don't know if it's like I said, if it's is it not important? I guess I know it's about. If somebody said FIFA, I know what it's about. I don't necessarily need to have all that information. But there's some other things that, like, I don't ever that we don't go into and just kind of dismiss. I mean, I guess I wouldn't have felt stupid if I didn't know exactly what FIFA meant. But I think there's other things that can pop up that where I would be like embarrassed that I maybe I didn't know. Maybe I'm around some people that are like super smart and they said something. And I'm like, oh yeah, I should know that. So I don't know if the exact thing, but there's also this ham story. If you ever heard of this story, about the ham, and it's this woman that it's this family recipe's been passed down for generations and generations, and this these the mothers are passing down to the daughters or whatever. So it's decades old, generations old of the way that they cook this ham. And finally, one of the daughters, the granddaughters, great granddaughters, great great granddaughters, asks, "Why do we cut the ends off the ham in this recipe?" And mom's like, "Oh, well, it's just it's just what we do. That's just what the recipe calls for." So for generations, they've just been doing that. Finally, one of the mothers asks their mother, which is a grandmother, great grandmother, and they say, "Well, that's how we fit it in the oven." And so that story always is always wild to me because you think about, like, they've always done it. There was a purpose for it, and like if you know that they cut it off because ovens used to be super small and tiny, and the ham was too wide for it. So there was a reason for it back then. Now our ovens are much bigger; they can handle a ham, but our brains start filling things in for, like, when I first heard that they were cut off. I heard that story and I heard they cut off the ends. I was like, oh well, maybe it's so that, like, it can absorb better. Like, you score the ham on top and put all your brown sugar or whatever, and it just absorbs. I was thinking, oh, maybe they just do it. That's where my mind went. We just start filling in the blanks because our brains want to do that. But there was actual reason for it, which that reason kind of no longer, unless there's some other reason that I don't know. But in regards to this story, that's what it is. It was for that purpose, so it could fit in the oven. Now we don't need to do that unless your recipe specifically calls for that. But just our brains like to fill that stuff in, and it's kind of a perfect example of, like, not stopping for a second and be like, well, why would why do you need to do that? And so it kind of goes into, like, even AI does it now. Like, if you go onto any AI and you type in something, it's almost like in a human way, like just that same thing, that it doesn't want to be wrong, or it doesn't want to not know something. So you'll see they'll call them like hallucinations sometimes, where AI, like, you type in a prompt and you're asking a question and you're trying to get actual information out of it, it will give you an answer. It rarely ever, unless you are strict with it enough to be like, hey, you need to tell me if you don't know something. Don't just go willy-nilly and just add stuff because you just want to give me an answer. It's almost like, talking about like some reporting, right? You'll get a report that'll come out and it will be out like a news report, and it's not the truth. That's just the first one, the first thing they kick out, and they got to go back and revise and be like, oh, I'm sorry, that was wrong, that was wrong. So you have to kind of correct AI from doing that. But it's interesting that AI will have that same process of not wanting to not know. So it sometimes it doesn't ask more questions. It will if it's prompted to, but the same things that, get overlooked. It also reminds me of a story of a friend of mine, because like I look at, we have all the tools out there to investigate all these things, right? And figure out what they're why is it that way? Why is it named that way? What does it mean? But a lot of times I just go, that doesn't mean, like, that's not worth looking up, or it doesn't cross my mind and I go, oh, that's not worth looking up. It just kind of goes in and out. Like, I just don't pay attention to it. And then I see it a bunch of times, and things that, like, we should know, but we kind of overlook them. And so I was thinking about, we have all these tools, and with AI, with the internet, all this stuff, we can find stuff. We can ask, our Alexa to tell us, what does this mean? What does that mean? All this stuff. But still, a lot of times I'll find myself just like breezing over it. And I think about a friend of mine, a late friend of mine that, God, how many? It was probably like 2010 or 11. So almost like 15 years ago. I was over at his house, and he was one of the smartest guys I've ever known. And he had a TV tray over here on the side, and there was a dictionary on there, which seemed like a weird thing to have there, because it wasn't like he wasn't in school or anything like that. Didn't know of him to be like a writer or looking something up and all that stuff. So I was really interested in and asked him, like, why? Quick question, man. Why do you have this dictionary, like, so accessible, right? It's not weird to see one on somebody's like bookshelf or their desk in their office or something, but it was on, like, on the TV tray next to the couch where he would sit. And I asked him, what it was for, and he said, if there's a word that I hear on TV and I don't know what it means, it drives me crazy. He was a little obsessive in that way, but it drove him crazy to not know what that word meant, and so he would look it up right away. And I think about that, and I'm not trying to get that far involved to try and figure out every single thing that passes me. Some of the information is, probably not necessary to have. But I think, just as a rule of thumb, I need to get better at asking more questions on things to get to, like, the next level. And I think that's important too in communication, is that a lot of times, like I said before in a couple other episodes, I'm working on my communication, because that's where I think a lot of things break down. And I think that if I can be more knowledgeable about the situation, and I can communicate much better. Like, if you tell me something that I don't know and I don't figure out what it is, and then now all of a sudden I'm trying to solve a problem, or fix something, create something, whatever. If I don't know what that original thing is, you're already kind of off the rails from there. So those are things I need to get better at. I want to be better at, like I said, communication, and also understanding things that I may not understand. I think that's very helpful. I think it'd be very helpful for me. And also, I think it's kind of cool to learn the origination of things, like that ham story. It's like, that's kind of wild that somebody just kept doing it over and over again. So just wanted to share that, and also I'd be curious to hear, what is, share in the comments, like, what is something that you've always done just because you were told it was done that way, and never even questioned it, and could possibly be done a different way, maybe even a better way. I don't know. But I'd love to hear those. If you have any of those, please share them with me. I would love to hear all that stuff. So I will end on that, and I will see you on the next one.